Chancellor Rachel Reeves will unveil her first autumn budget on November 26th, and it sounds like she's got some tricky decisions on her hands. My name is Jack Reeves and welcome back to this week's episode of Tax Tidbits, where Reeves is walking a fine line, trying to balance the books without ramping up government borrowing for day-to-day spending. The rumour mill's already in full swing for this budget, and it's been suggested that we could see the income tax threshold freeze pushed beyond 2028, a potential tax shuffle swapping 2% of employees' national insurance for 2% of income tax, a cut to VAT on household energy bills, limits on the tax-free lump sum from pensions, and possibly higher taxes for online gaming companies. There's a lot more on the table, but ultimately it's up to the Chancellor what she puts forward. Whatever happens in the budget, just know it's likely to affect you in one way or another, so stay tuned for more budget updates. Rachel Reeves has put Brexit back in the spotlight this week, telling the IMF that leaving the EU has left UK productivity about 4% lower than it would have been if we'd stayed in the EU. Basically, it's caused a long-term economic dent we can't ignore. Speaking to global finance leaders, she made it clear that this Brexit hit is part of why more tax rises might be on the menu in the run-up to the budget. Ministers have been becoming increasingly vocal of the impact of Brexit, pointing to lower investment and weaker goods trade. The issue remains politically sensitive, especially while the government negotiates a Brexit reset on post-Brexit trade checks and seeks to support UK manufacturers bidding for European defence contracts. In short, Brexit's still haunting our wallets, and Reeves isn't shy about saying so. The government's promising a green jobs boom, pledging to create 400,000 new roles in the UK's clean energy sector by 2030, doubling the employment in renewables, wind, solar and nuclear energy. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband says it's not a target, it's what we need to bring bills down and power up Britain's workforce. Plumbers, electricians and welders are at the top of the wish list of 31 in-demand trades, with new technical excellence colleges and retaining schemes in the works for everyone from veterans to ex-offenders. There will even be funding schemes for oil and gas workers to switch to green jobs. The government says these jobs will pay well, around £50,000 on average, and will keep young people working closer to home, boosting local economies. If all goes to plan, the UK could soon be running on clean energy and cleaner job prospects. Centrica, which owns British Gas, along with Eurogarages and Holland & Barrett, are among nearly 500 companies on the government's naughty list for underpaying staff, with total fines topping £10 million. Centrica failed to pay almost £170,000 to 356 workers due to historic payroll glitches, while Eurogarages shortchanged over 3,300 employees by around £824,000 between 2015 and 2019, and Holland & Barrett underpaid 2,500 staff by £153,000 because of old school practices like unpaid training and mandatory shoes. The good news is that all affected employees have been paid back, and the companies say their systems have been fixed to prevent future issues. This goes to show that the government are cracking down on rule breakers, and even big companies aren't above the law. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has announced plans to cut needless form filling for businesses, aiming to save firms nearly £6 billion a year by cutting red tape. Speaking at an investment summit in Birmingham, she said the goal is to make the UK a top destination for global capital. Reeves said the reforms would simplify corporate rules, including reducing reporting requirements for over 100,000 small businesses, from local cafes to family-run shops. The business secretary added that new AI tech might even get a temporary free pass from regulations to help it grow faster. While business groups have mostly cheered the move, some are holding their applause until the budget, warning that all these promises to cut paperwork won't mean much if Reeves hits them with a tax hike next month. And that's a wrap for this week's episode of Tax Tidbits. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time.